Thank you. Ms. O'Brien.
Chairman Schatz and members of the committee, thank you for inviting me here to speak with you today about the challenge of climate instability and the path to bipartisan solutions. As neither a typical environmentalist nor a Democrat, I appreciate the efforts this committee has made to hear from unconventional climate voices. My name is Kiera O'Brien, and I am a senior at Harvard College. I'm the Vice President of Students for Carbon Dividends and the former president of the Harvard Republican Club. I'd like to begin today by sharing with you why I care about this issue. I was born and raised in Ketchikan, Alaska, a small island community in the southeastern part of the state. I grew up in a culture grounded in reverence for nature, as well as in the knowledge that our natural resources are important to our way of life. Growing up in such a self-reliant rural community, it was almost inevitable I would grow up to be a Republican. It was also inevitable I would notice the disruption to our climate that is occurring. The thought of harm to or disruption of the Alaskan way of life makes this issue a priority for me. The wide-ranging economic threat of the challenge before us speaks to the bipartisan action that must be cultivated around the issue of climate instability. When I moved over 3,000 miles east of my hometown to attend college, I found my place with the Harvard Republican Club and the Institute of Politics. When I became president of the Republican Club, we were the first of many student groups to endorse the Carbon Dividends Plan, and 6 months later, Students for Carbon Dividends was launched. Since then, our founding coalition has more than tripled to over 100 Republican, Democratic, business, and environmental groups across the country. This was the first time a collection of college Republican organizations had ever publicly backed a concrete national climate solution. When I was first approached about supporting carbon dividends, climate policy in my mind was synonymous with regulation. After delving into the details, however, it became clear that this policy framework was not like any I had ever seen. Authored by two of the GOP's most distinguished elder statesmen, James A. Baker III and George P. Shultz, the carbon dividends proposal embodies the core principles of free markets and limited government. It would achieve significantly greater emissions reductions than all current and prior regulations combined and exceed the Paris climate target. The carbon dividends framework has been endorsed by every living former chair of the Federal Reserve, as well as by 27 Nobel Prize-winning economists, the largest number to endorse any policy on any topic ever. It was also signed by 15 former chairs of the President's Council of Economic Advisors, including every living Republican who has served in this role. And if that weren't enough, it was also signed by over 3,500 economists across the country, the largest such statement in the history of the profession. This consensus is overwhelming and has helped shift the conversation from asking what pro-growth, pro-economy climate action we should support to asking why our current representatives have not yet addressed this issue in a serious way. I have had countless conversations about my work on the climate, and the reactions have been resoundingly positive. From mentors, I have received words of support, often accompanied by the acknowledgement that their generation has failed us. My peers on both sides of the aisle are exhausted by the partisan bickering, the divisive entrenchment, and the staunch unwillingness to compromise. As Republicans, we have not yet managed to achieve a balance between acknowledging climate instability and resolving how to address it. However, as my fellow panelist Dr. Luntz has shown, climate instability is an issue of great concern for young conservatives. Acting on climate is therefore not only good policy, it is good politics. Some have opposed modern climate plans because they worry they would undercut American capitalism. The plan we support does not harm free enterprise. Instead, it is revenue neutral, and it leverages the power of the market to achieve emissions reductions. Capitalism will be essential for attacking this challenge. This is an issue of great personal responsibility and concern for the inheritance of generations to come. The Republican Party has a long and proud legacy of leadership on environmental issues, from President Teddy Roosevelt and the national parks, to President Richard Nixon's founding of the EPA, to President Ronald Reagan's leadership on protecting the ozone layer, to President George H.W. Bush's decisive action to curb acid rain. It is time for us to reclaim this legacy. As more Republicans come to the table to discuss meaningful solutions, so too must Democrats meet them with a willingness to work together to find compromise and be open to truly workable policies. Durable policy must have bipartisan backing. Concessions will have to be made on all sides. We cannot hope to create lasting change on a single-party basis. I implore all members of Congress to place the best interests of the country over partisan politics when considering climate legislation. There are some issues so pivotal, they transcend partisan lines, state lines, and generations. Climate is one of them. I will close on a positive note. While I am young, I am not naive when it comes to this issue. I am aware there are many sides to the climate issue and many challenges that will be faced. But I am hopeful for the future of bipartisan climate action. My generation has displayed a willingness to come together urgently to confront this challenge. We are now asking that our elected officials do the same. Thank you so much for this honor.
Thank you very much.